Always one. Freaking Antoine. But it is what it is. Welcome back to another episode of Elevated Dialogue here on the Uncle Junior Network. We are back live again this Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Welcome to the panel today. We have none other than Mr. Accountable Masculinity himself, Mr. Victor Viziant, Antoine, the other artist, Christopher, he paints with more than just crayons, just to let you guys know. Roland, the man of many hats and the big long gray beard. We love it. He got the wave going on. That's Mr. Steal Your Grandma right there, folks, right there. You know what I'm saying? That's him. And ladies and gentlemen, the mindset coach himself, the man with the plan, Mr. Dwayne Dwyer. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
Blessed. Blessed.
Good, man.
I'm not
Good.
gonna lie, man. I stood up
Pretty
and
good day, man.
danced a little jig while your intro was going.
The intro do it is fire.
Yeah,
But
man.
hey, look, hey,
Yeah, that music is great, man.
that music is great, but I'm gonna tell y'all something else. Look, hey, if you tune in Friday night, 8 p.m. on Empower Perspective Podcast, that intro is fire too. So just saying, Friday night, 8 p.m. If you ain't doing nothing, jump over there, check out Coach. Check out if you don't do nothing else, at least check out the intro and hit the like button while you over there.
There you go.
We have some great conversations going on over there as well. Welcome to the show, everybody who's joining us this evening. We appreciate you spending, taking time out of your day to come spend with us. We hope that you enjoy the show, and also want to give a shout out to the chat. I got two screens over here. That's why y'all see me looking around like that. So just FYI. But also give a shout out to the military folks out there in the states, overseas, all over. We salute you and we thank you for everything that you do. Last week we started a four-part series on I'm having a hold on, I lost my notes. Hey, I'm honest. I'm running the show back here.
Hey, man, quit getting old in front of us.
Hey, it is what it is. I just turned 47, man.
Hey,
I feel good though.
you should.
Yeah, but we just started a four-part series last week on navigating modern relationships. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna switch it up a little bit this week. We decided we talked a little bit after the show last week, and we decided to take the word modern out of the conversation altogether. So this week we're going to be talking about communication. So this week's topic is how can individuals effectively communicate with their partner in a relationship. So over the next hour and a half or so, we're just going to have a good conversation. We got a couple of talking points that we're going to talk to you about, or we're going to talk about using our experience, our different things like that, knowledge and information that we have acquired over the many years of our life, and we're going to try to give you guys a great show. So glad you guys are here with us, and gentlemen. Again, how are you guys? And are you guys ready to start the show?
Better than amazing, man. Let's get it.
Good. Antoine, you all right over there? See you over there staring, looking at something. He might not even heard me.
You muted.
he mute. I'm just making sure it doesn't do what it's doing, cutting off on me where I was
Okay.
going wrong.
Oh, okay. Nah, I'm just messing with you, Antoine. All
Yeah,
right. So again, welcome to week 2 of our 4-part series on navigating relationships. In this week's episode, we're going to be exploring communication, how it fits into a relationship. For this conversation, we are focused on an intimate relationship between two people. Effective communication is an important aspect if a person wants to have a successful relationship with their partner. Effective communication allows partners the ability to understand each other's needs, feelings, and perspective and work through conflicts that may arise. Effective communication also helps build trust, understanding, and intimacy in a relationship. The goal of this conversation is to show different perspectives on what effective communication looks like, offer some tips on how to improve communication in a relationship, and lastly, add value to the viewer of this episode of Elevated Dialogue. Excuse me. So today, what we're going to start off with is a little bit of accountability time or reflection. So what we're going to do is I'm gonna start, but we're just going to go around the horn and we're going to talk about, what part of active listening we may have struggled with either in the past or the present. So for me, one of the things that I've struggled with was active listening in general, just listening to someone without um, that person, without trying to finish their sentence in my mind or already trying to come up with a response versus just listening to them, let them get their thoughts out, pause, and then respond. So for me, that's always been something that I've struggled with because I didn't know it, but I think I'm a talker. And however, with the jobs that I do, it requires me to do a lot more thinking than talking. So that's always has been something that I've struggled with, something that I still work on to this day. And yeah, so for me, it's just being able to just listen without wanting to have something to say in return.
Mm, I agree with that. I think most men have that habit though. I think that's a habit that most men carry. I've been guilty of that too. Um, because you listening to the conversation, and like you said, you already prepared your answer, and then you're dying to get it out. So I'm definitely guilty of that, right? Because you want to make sure you don't let that person ramble on too long before you forget where that one point that you want to nail them down on. So yeah, definitely guilty of that. I think most men are definitely guilty of that.
I think if I speak on reflection, sometimes staying quiet too long, uh, because like I don't,
We talking about you?
yeah, like I'm yeah, because we talking about reflection and just staying
Oh,
quiet too long.
okay.
And like in the middle of a conversation where like it seems like you zoning out and don't look like you're actively listening, but your body language communicates something else, because ultimately your body language is not matching up with what the other person is saying. Doesn't mean that you're not paying attention. Like some folks they can do something with something in their hands and seem completely distracted, but they actually focused in on it. They probably need something else. But I think that body language has always been bad for me. You know what I'm saying? Or facial expression, because I'm not an outwardly emotional person. So it doesn't mean I don't experience the same emotions as somebody else. I just read mine differently. So that usually translates into a body language that may come off as being nonchalant.
I think I'm with you with the body language because my face gonna tell it all. When I think you full of something, my face gonna relay that. And I think that was a problem with me in the military. I had a sergeant major. He was from a different country. He was like, why you do face? Why you do face? I'm like, what? Like, dude, I don't like what you saying. What I'm supposed to act like I do? That's my thinking. But I think sometimes we want people to react the way or speak how we understand and not how they speak. So in turn, we like, hey, get out of here. And we don't see what it does to the other person, to the sender.
Yeah, I will say that I'm probably guilty of everything that you guys just said, if I'm just being transparent. But I would say the worst thing that, if I'm just being completely transparent, the worst thing that I would say that I was guilty of is like if I ask a question or we're having a conversation, I am listening for what it is I want you to say, not necessarily listening to what it is that you are saying. Right. So when I don't hear what I'm looking to hear from you at that particular point in time, I automatically inject whatever happens within the scope of that conversation. Because in my mind, I can't understand why you can't see this common sense conversation that I'm trying to have with you, but it only meets my common sense, not even taking into account yours. So I would say for me, I'm guilty of everything you guys said, but I would say the worst thing is that when I thought what was common sense, like if you don't see it as common sense, something wrong with you.
Yeah, I totally get that. Hey, shout out to Orville Ingram in the chat. Hey, appreciate you, brother. Whenever you're ready, we're ready for you to come back over here and give us some more insight. Orville said he get impatient when he hear BS and want to shut down instead of giving him more time. I can 100% agree with that. I think it comes to a certain point. You just like, man, that's some BS. Or if like they lying to you or something like that, you just like, come on, man. It's because it's like, man, like why you like looking
Now
at me
your
with
body
your,
language messed
yeah,
up.
it's like why you looking at me with your naked face, like doing that? It's just like, come on, man. So
Yeah.
it's like, bruh, like, or I
What?
get it, man. Like, because
You
it's like
believe
it's
that?
better for me just to shut down and not say nothing. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So yeah, I totally get that. Anybody else can relate to that?
I'm
Yes.
guilty of all of it.
Guilty.
All of it, not all of it, man. What are some examples where you use communication and it was not effective?
Texting.
Texting,
Boy,
bro.
you want to escalate a situation?
Mm-hmm.
Text without context.
I
Text
agree.
without context. You like you'll be responding to things that may be touching nerves, or you're like, why did it get processed that way? You know what I'm saying? And again, going back to what Coach was saying, some things feel like they should be common sense, and that's the assumption, that everybody has the same understanding, the exact same understanding, not similar, identical understanding. And that's poor expectation management. You know what I'm saying? You're setting yourself up for an endless conflict, the infinity war. Texting without context, dangerous.
Can I jump on the backside of that? Because I mean, I feel like I need to add context to what it is I'm saying, because
Come on, preacher.
this is the same thing to me. Like no joke. My son, like he tore up his basketball goal, no joke. And before we could buy him a new one, he went and somehow by the time I came home, there was a brand new basketball goal in my yard. So I automatically assumed that it was purchased by somebody who lived in my house. I'm just going to say it that way. My wife at the time. But come to find out, after just some curiosity on my behalf, it wasn't his basketball goal. It was his friend's basketball goal. So I'm like, well, how did it get here? She said, well, he brought it down here. I'm like, okay. But did you like confirm that it came from like the parents knew? Like, surely I'm not going to buy my son a basketball goal and then allow him to just send it to somebody else's house. That doesn't make sense to me. Again, doesn't make sense. So did you call the parents to confirm that it was okay for the basketball goal to be here? No. I just took it at face value. Wait, time out. Again, this is not something's not sitting right with me now. So now I'm asking more questions. Well, why would you not call? Well, I just trusted him. Okay, that sounds good until the cops come knocking on your door because somebody down the street said a basketball goal is missing and it's sitting in my yard. So, well, I don't see the need. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to work in the morning. When I come home, basketball goal need to be gone. I don't care where it go. If it's not going by the time I get home, I am going to go get the goal myself and sit it in the middle of the street. So again, that was just it. Common sense to me it should be common, but it's not common.
But do you see what you did in that situation? You went from spouse to parent. Even though I agree it should have been common sense, you should don't bring nothing down here. Yeah, I agree with you. But if I'm on the other end listening to somebody parent me, I don't care what you're saying. I'm saying F whatever come out your mouth.
That's fine. I'm still in the street.
Right, I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm the same way with my kids. They know if you do something, like my kids know, if I tell them something and they don't do it, or I will take something, even if I paid for it, I take it and I will destroy it. I will tear it up. I don't care. I paid for it. It's mine. You ain't do what I want you to do with it. You ain't gonna have it. No problem. I'm just that petty. But it ain't necessarily the most mature thing to do.
So what you said, the parenting part, I need you to explain on that, because I totally get where Coach is saying. Because I'm just like, I'm asking these questions. I'm just like,
but when you come into a grown up, and you like he said, it's common sense to us because it's how we communicate. But that other party, they thinking it's okay. They are, and they listening to you parent them. Say, well, because you're giving everything about it, everything how it should be. You breaking the law down to them.
Right.
And they sitting up there pretty much in the child's position, listening to your authority and what you got to say about it. And their answer ain't gonna be good enough no matter what they say if they don't take that thing back down the street or contact the parents, which is the right thing to do. But the communication part is parent.
After they fail to parent themselves.
I agree.
There you go.
Hey,
I'm with you.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
It
so
makes
funny
sense.
because, like, I know what he's saying.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter which route you take.
Right.
All
Mhm.
roads come back to this basketball goal being in the road.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We can talk
Pretty
about
much.
everything else after that part gets handled. I like that. That's like, and I know what you mean because like the threshold has been crossed, the boundary has been crossed. So like now somebody has to assert themselves. What did I say? In you know what I'm saying, backstage, people get in the conversation or an argument to establish some sort of dominance based on what they think is right. And once they commit to that, the best thing you could do is go with that energy because they over prepared. You know what I'm saying? You could tell when somebody's really settled in their decision. You know what I'm saying? So you got to pick what side of the conflict you want to be on, the unhealthy competition or the healthy one where you learn something.
Ain't gonna be no competition in my house.
Exactly. It ain't no competition. It's not this time.
You guys ever said a joke at the wrong time? You was like
Always.
everything
Yeah.
was cool. And you just like just casual, like a little joke, and like people get offended. And you was like, dang, like it was a joke. It's like we've joked about this for 3 years, never was an issue. But now the joke comes up, and then now all of a sudden it's like I never liked it. And I'm just like, well, why you didn't say something 3 years ago? Like you've been letting this joke ride along for 3 years. You've never communicated to me that this joke is a problem. And then now all of a sudden, because you're feeling a certain type of way, you were in a certain mood or whatever like that. Now all of a sudden the joke is a problem. I joke sometimes.
I joke all the time.
Yes.
And I know I can say some off color insensitive things. And if you let it slide once, that means it's okay to me.
There
It's a
you
norm.
go. I mean, it's okay.
Right. But I think sometimes we think, like I said, we think we communicate the same. So they may let it slide in the beginning when, oh, it's cute when he did this, it's cute when she did that. And then later on down the line, it's like in her mind, for me, it's a her. In her mind, you gotta say that nowadays, but for
Yeah.
me,
Same.
she will take things
Here.
to heart
Never.
and where it's like I'm poking at her. I'm like, I ain't poking, I poke at everybody. That's what a joke is. You poke it, you know. But it's like you getting sensitive about something that's petty to me now. It's like I've been doing this. This is what I do. I do this with everybody. And she don't want to be common like that.
Yeah. Antoine, you've been hush mouth over there today. That's uncommon.
Because I'm thinking like what coach said at the example he asked. When you asked a direct question, why can't they just answer? It's not even complicated, right? So he asked a direct question. Where'd it come from? The minute you start tippy tapping around your answer, now you're pissing me off, right? Because I'm speaking plain English and it's a simple question. So the idiocy that you're displaying to me right now is pissing me off. So now I don't want to know. Now it is going to end up in the street and we're not going to have a discussion about it. I'm done. Don't come back to me when you feel like it's the right time to talk. I asked you a direct question. So if you can't answer a direct question at the time, I'm going to take the lead and put it where it's supposed to be. You can explain it to the parents down the street. I'm done. I did my part. But the whole trying to go around, back, twist, upside down, making her understand. No.
I get that too because I will get questions thrown at me and I will answer directly. His friend down the street. And when I feel it's a query of questions, now I'm about to get anal on my end because I don't like, for one, I don't like being questioned. I hate it. Now, some people cool with it, but when you throw in a bunch of questions, but what about this? Well, where you get it from? Who is she? And you work with her, and it's like what? Like, yeah, dog. Now it's like I'm under interrogation, and I got these lights all on me, like I'm lying. And then
It's an
it's like, hold
ambush.
up, I ain't gotta
Ambush.
lie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like an angle. It's like, no, you asked a direct question. I answered your question. You don't like how I answered it because you wanted something else. Ask what you want. Like I tell people, don't ask me. Don't go around the corner just to go next door.
Yeah. So I don't see why it's so hard to like just answer. And that is that. And like I said, if we're gonna have a conversation, let's first be honest about what happened. Once we be honest about what happened, I'm willing to go further into the conversation. But if we can't be honest about what happened to start, why am I gonna go digging?
Well,
No, you know what? No, you're asking too much of me. That's not gonna happen.
well, what I learned is for her, whenever I started asking questions, she felt like I was saying she was a bad parent. And to me, I was like, how did you go from a simple question all the way to the extreme? Well, because you're asking questions about something that I thought I handled effectively. Well, I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but you didn't. Because at the end of the day, this goal is sitting in our yard, and you had no confirmation that this goal actually belonged to the friend that he said it came from, nor whether or not his parents was cool with it. So that was kind of like one of my issues. And that scenario was constant for 14 years.
Yeah. That's not gonna work.
Ain't gonna work, Antoine.
No, it's not gonna work. No. See, that's what I mean. I don't have time for that. Like, I'm not gonna, lay out a red carpet for a simple dialogue. Like, really? Like, no.
Sometimes this is where, like, we said earlier, like texting and without context is kind of dangerous, right? But sometimes if you sit down and write an email uninterrupted to capture everything that you're trying to explain, it gives you a better picture of it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're having a conversation that's already like rooted in some sort of anxiety, some, like some tense situation, people have a tendency to overtalk other people, not allow everybody's thought to be completed, speaking out of anger, need to really take a nap, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. Go distract yourself for a couple hours before you decide to give it, you know what I'm saying, a go at understanding. But I think if you take a second to compose your thoughts, write it out, because if it's something you're passionate enough to argue about, you should be able to write about it too if you really want to solve it. So I think that's a good approach. And by the way, go buy the code. You know what I'm saying? If you want to solve a problem, you write about it.
And some 3x5 cards.
Hey, another example where communication is, I use it and wasn't effective, is just even like with my wife. So my wife is from a totally different culture. So my wife is Native American. So when we first got together, every article of clothing outside of a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt is called a sweater. So whether it's a hoodie, whether it's a jacket, whether it's a fleece, whether it's a pullover, whether it's a sweatshirt, everything is called a sweater. So she'd be like, hand me that sweater. And I'm looking around like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't see a sweater. Like, Bill Cosby is nowhere around here. Right. But she'd be like, right there, but it'd be a hoodie. And I'm like, well, we don't call them sweaters. Like, sweater's a sweater. This is a hoodie. This is a jacket. This is a fleece. You know what I mean? So, like,
That's a
sometimes
very
it could just
cute
be,
old people conversation right there.
but no, it's culturally like where they're at. That's what everybody there calls overcoats and stuff, jackets. I mean sweaters. So it was something that we had to get used to. And like that's just one of the small things. But because we have different cultures, like some of the things that way she speaks and way she talks is just different. So we're constantly evolving in our communication in order to keep understanding each other and stuff like that. So
and that's I think one of the dynamics. I think all of us on here know that we can talk, but the talking ain't the part in communication we have a problem with. It may be expecting the other person to listen how we talk. Like I'm from the Midwest, so we say some things that they don't say down here. So I would get frustrated when people would say, "No, call it soda, soda, soda." I'm like, "Nah, it's pop."
Yeah.
And just small things, and just not respecting the boundaries that they've already set, and because you grew up a certain way, she grew up a certain way, and so when it doesn't come your way, you giving it how you know it, she's giving it how she know it. That's why we got to come to a median where we can actually communicate, because
Yeah.
other than that, it's just
And I think we do, cause like some stuff, like she still say certain things as sweater, but if I look over there and it's a hoodie, I know exactly what she's talking about. But sometimes she'll say hoodie, so I think it's for us, it's a little bit of a give and take where we've just grown and like it ain't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. It was just a misunderstanding. Well, I just didn't understand. I wanted to understand her and give her what she wanted, but I didn't understand her the way that she thought I should understand her. So, it wasn't a big deal or anything, but like I said, that's just one of those things. What do y'all think why is it if why is effective communication so important in a relationship? We're gonna
Peace.
start with it. Go ahead.
Peace.
Peace.
Man, you want peace? You ain't gonna have it without communication. Come on, man.
Yeah, peace is one.
respect. I mean, I think when you learn a person and how they communicate, how they listen, I think it's a sign of respect, so that neither one of you are frustrated.
Yeah.
But I mean, to
You
even
muted, coach.
oh,
So my initial answer, so I don't put the basketball goal on the street. Um,
He's still on this.
Do it. Put it out there.
no, but seriously, to the question, I think effective communication is important in a relationship because that's part of how you relate to one another, right? Being able to exchange bits of information back and forth between two individuals in such a way that it's clearly understood the way the sender intended for it to be understood is the key. And I think a lot of times it allows us to, or it kind of helps us to understand where we are within the scope of this thing we call emotional regulation, right? So within the scope of effective communication, not only we're learning our partners, but we're also learning more about ourselves as well. But the bottom line is that so that we can continue to relate to one another on a deeper level.
and on top of that, I don't like as I'm older now, right? She can be beautiful and all that, and that gets you over there, right? What comes out of her mouth makes you stay. So in the beginning, after you start really getting to know the girl, you want to communicate. You want to really get to know her. If you take the hotness and the sex out of it, you really want to know what's behind her. Like, how does she communicate? Is she respectful to what you say? Are you respectful to what she says? Can you understand what she's saying when she says it? That should be like the key before anything else. And as I'm older now, and I can go into a relationship understanding where I'm coming from, and I'm able to see, okay, I want to know, can this woman communicate what she feels like, what her feelings are like? I think men need to sit down. That comes from the dinners, the coffee dates, and all that other stuff, right? And if you think with the head on top of your shoulders, I think you have a better chance of having a long lasting, relationship with the person, getting to know the person, right? And I think that's where most relationships go wrong. We're not willing to ask the questions or ask the tough questions. You always try to sugarcoat what you want to. No, just ask. Either way, just ask the question. You can't make bad news sound pretty, and you can't and she may not even get it the way you're asking it because you're not asking it the way you want her to understand it, I think.
I would say one of the things for me is just understanding. Just being having because when you understand somebody, things just are a lot more clear.
Well,
When you're constantly trying to struggle between and understanding between someone Roland talked about, like talking to somebody like they call certain things pop or soda, whatever like this, like It's just like when you don't understand someone's dialect or their tone, it can come off a certain way. So when you have effective communication, I think it just helps with the overall understanding of each other. You know what I mean? So what I'm missing? Oh, all the stuff in the
They
chat.
done started a
We
Pop
got a
versus
poll, we
soda.
got a poll going on over here.
So let's do it then. So what's the so you call it pop, right?
If you go to Detroit,
Uh-huh.
where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
it says Fago Pop.
Okay.
That's what you grow up on.
Okay.
Fago Pop, not soda. Like, because soda can be, if you go to Detroit, ask for a soda, you getting a cream soda. You're not getting what kind of pop you want. That's what we say. Now, if you somewhere else, down here in Texas, Louisiana, somewhere else, some places say Coke. Some people say cold drink. Some people call everything a Coke. What kind of Coke you want? Like, I don't know, cherry Coke? I don't know.
Wow. I always known it as soda. That's funny.
Only Yankees call it pop.
Hey, there we go. Y'all heard it. Hey, the chat lighting up over there. I appreciate y'all. I see what y'all doing over there. That's funny.
Liz is laying it down, brother.
Yeah, I love it.
Liz,
Hey,
she say she a marriage coach.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what talking about.
finna throw some more stuff up there. Well, what are some common communication challenges that individuals may face in a relationship?
That they can't say what they feel. They can't say it directly. They got to try to make it sound pretty. They got to.
What do you mean?
It's like, you know, like you can't be direct. Like people take words. You know, I'm not saying you have to be offensive, but if you're going to communicate with somebody, you have to be direct. I'm a direct person. I need to hear it direct.
But you
right?
can also be
and,
an offensive person.
and there's no, you can't, there's no, for me, there's no such thing as, well, I need the right time to tell Antoine. No, if I find out without you telling me and you were trying to tell me, now you pissed me off. Now I don't want to hear it from you because I already know.
You see how, but see, if now I'm just, this ain't ever gonna happen. But if I'm in a relationship with Antoine as a female, and Antoine, he's done told me times, if I don't get it like this, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm less likely to come talk to you because I got some bad news. You're gonna be pissed.
No, because you should be pissed. You're an idiot if I've told you so many times. This is the way.
But you see how you are always insulting,
because you're trying to make up excuses for her. If I tell her, baby, I need you to tell me directly. Don't sugarcoat it.
That's what
I need it like this.
That's not how she talks, though.
No, if I want it like this, I want it like this. I don't want to hear it the way you want to tell me. I need to hear it like this. I want it direct. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I don't want you to make it try to sound pretty. If you know something's happened in the home, something's happened in the house, something happened at our kid's school, don't try to find the right time to tell me. The right time is when you thought about it, and then when it's happened, you call me and you tell me. But don't cook me a nice dinner. Okay, let's make this all good. And no, now you're pissing me off because I'm like, why didn't you just tell me? Oh, well, you know, at the time when I found out, now you see, it's not gonna work.
But that's because Antoine wants it like that.
But Antoine communicated it like that, right?
Antoine.
Wait. Did Antoine communicate it like that? Wait a minute,
yeah,
bro.
You did.
Okay,
yes.
If I communicate it like that, tell me from her point of view what she's misunderstanding.
You see how bad you are at communicating? See,
No.
when I was in, wait a minute.
No, I don't want you to sugar. No.
I'm trying to talk, but you won't.
No. I asked you a direct question. I said
yes. Thumbs up. You
okay, so I want you to know if now put that. You said yes, right? So I want you to know if I communicated it like that with her, and I made it clear, what's her purpose to not tell me the way I like to hear it?
Because it's not how she talks. It's how you want it, not how she talks. Now,
so in other words, me telling her that. In other words, me telling her that went right over her head because it's not the way.
No, it has nothing to do with her. It has to do with you and what you want. But what I'm saying, wait a minute. When I was in the Army and I was an instructor, I had two things. I had a pink bunny rabbit, and I had a ball. Now, if somebody was talking low, monotone, they couldn't talk, they would get the bunny rabbit, have to stand up and actually articulate what they're trying to say. No problem with that with you. But the people, whenever somebody had the ball, they were the talkers. Everybody else shut up. See, you got to learn when to shut up.
No, but after I tell you, tell me.
No, I'm saying when we're talking, we can't dialogue when you always got to be right. No, listen to me talk.
Because I hate when I ask somebody a direct question and then they're trying to build a whole story behind the direct answer. Just tell me what I asked. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear the whole hoopla. Like you were trying to make this. No, I asked you a direct question. Just answer. After you answer, then you can elaborate and build a whole context and all that other shit you want to put on.
Always do it Antoine's way.
Yeah, because I'm asking you. If you ask me a direct question, I'm going to tell you a direct answer. Then I'm going to add context and all that other bullshit.
Because you talk like that. You can't expect you from somebody else.
But that's straight, and that's what messes people up today. They're not willing. It's like if a girl's gaining weight, baby, it ain't fitting you the same. You got 2 lumps on you. Don't wear that dress. There's no such thing as, well, it looks good, but I think you should wear this one. You just totally didn't tell her she was fat. Like, no. See, that's the whole, it's just a mess. It's like people try to make things into a mess.
So this brings me to my point on why are some, what was the question again, Uncle Junior? I'm sorry. What are some common communication challenges that individuals may face in a relationship? It is assuming that a communication actually happened. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that exists. 2 people having a conversation, and it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It could be a calm conversation, it could be a heated conversation, but they never get closure to understand whether or not the other person actually understood what was actually saying. So in other words, they struggle with the active part of listening, right? There has to be something that comes back to me as the sender that helps me to understand that you received what it is that I said, what I actually said. There has to be a confirmation piece. And if there is not a confirmation piece, then again, that's where we run into issues. Going back to my basketball goal example, right? I'm going to stay on that all night, by the way. Going back to my basketball goal example, I asked a question, she gave a response, but she gave a response that proved that she was dancing around the question that I asked. So I didn't get heated. I just asked another question so that I can fully develop what I was understanding that she was saying. Again, didn't get heated. So that's the piece. Like if a person doesn't answer the question, because you got to understand deflection is a thing, and it happens all the time. But there's also another piece that happens in communication, which is called manipulation. We, and I say we, I'm not talking about we as in men. I'm just saying we as in people in general. We use the art of manipulation in communication all the time and don't even realize that we're doing it because it is just a common thing for us. It's almost like second nature. It's just like you waking up in the morning. You don't even realize you're doing. So assuming that communication actually happened and manipulating the other person in the midst of conversation.
Manipulation is like the first language, because even when you're a baby, you have to start giving off certain, like body language that lets your parent know that you need to be fed. And then once you start pairing that form of communication with other communication, you got a whole different type of individual. That's why, like, when kids tell little lies and it doesn't get corrected after a period of time, and it becomes habit because it's been allowed. So yeah, manipulation is always part of the human language because all of us want the outcome that we want. So
I've heard that. So are relationships inherently manipulative?
I think I think romantic relationships
Yeah,
I think all romantic relationships are conditional. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why it takes commitment to make it work. You know what I'm saying? When it's not going the way that you envisioned it or hope for it to go or whatever it was, and not looking at one low moment as, what I'm saying, the whole picture versus looking at it on a scale of time and what's improving and what's not. Just like Coach said, he wrote it out for 14 years dealing with that basketball goal. You know what I'm saying?
Heck yeah.
That basketball goal hurt him. So
pain on my side, man.
Yeah. But like the lessons that basketball goal taught him gives the breadth to elevated dialogue, which comes on every Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? At 7 p.m. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already, because a lot of people in the chat is pretty active, so jump in. Like you have to be just accountable about how you respond to certain situations, man. And that's when it comes down to stoicism it comes down to, you know, having thick skin. Thick skin allows you to communicate a little bit better, you know. So like everybody doesn't respond to the same situation. Sometimes you got to wait until you got another example to show it, something to compare, so you can effectively get the point across.
I think one of the things that um, one of the common communication challenges that individuals may face in a relationship is when someone in the relationship is not willing to adjust. You know what I mean? It's like it has to be this way or that way. I think that you have to be flexible in a relationship when it comes to communication because there's so many different things that go into relationships and there's so many different things that go into how we communicate. You know, we communicate with our eyes, we communicate with our body as a whole. You know, it ain't nothing like I ain't gonna trigger myself, but it ain't nothing like rolling your eyes after you done said something to somebody and they roll their eyes. You know what I mean? Like that type of body language right there is can cause a lot of um it can cause a lot of confusion, a lot of problems in relationships. You know what I mean? So body language, you know what I mean, not saying anything, turning your back, you know, going on mute, like all of these things are huge. But I think when people don't recognize, you know, how their communication or lack of effective communication is, I like when they don't understand that they're a problem and that they struggle with communication, that becomes a problem in the relationship because they don't understand that, hey, you're probably the problem because you're not willing to change. You just want it this way, blah, 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 or you're not willing to adjust or see things from a different perspective when it comes to communication. And I think that can cause huge communication challenges in a relationship.
But how many times are you gonna tell her, listen, baby? How many times I gotta tell you, man? Just tell me. I mean, how many times do you want to go through that shit? Baby, I mean, come on. This is the fourth time I'm telling you. Just be direct with me and tell me so I can fix the problem or we can fix it and we can have a sit down about it. Like, I can't do that all the time, right? Because that becomes annoying as shit. Because now I don't want to marry you and now I don't want to be with you because you just don't get it. Like, you just don't get it. Like, this is the fourth time I told you, don't, you know, just be honest with me, be straight with me. I like it direct. And you keep trying to cook me a good dinner just to tell me something so simple that I don't care. Like, how many times you guys are willing to do that? After a while, doesn't it become like redundant? And it's like, ugh. It's like, now I don't want to talk about it. Like, how many times are you guys willing to go through that in a relationship? That's why I believe in having that up front. Like, just lay it on the cards on the table. And I don't see why you have to keep, as gentlemen, keep repeating. You're not a child. Like, if my wife says, baby, I don't like you sneaking up behind me when I'm cooking. Baby, I don't like you talking to me like that. I don't like when you use that word. You shouldn't use it again. Like, where's the how can you use that word again when she literally just told you, don't use that word? And don't say you made a mistake. No, now you're trying to piss her off because you're using it. So for me, I just don't understand the whole, I have to coach her, I have to train her, I have to tell her. No, I got more important things to do than to worry about how to sneak up behind you cooking. So I just don't see the point. The communication part is the part to get it clear. Box, this is how it is. This is how I like it. How do you like it? You like it like that? Okay, I'm going to serve your eggs over easy.
I think another piece to add here as well is, and I've said this. I want to say it was on Saturday mornings in one of my conversations with Anita Simpson. Relationships, believe it or not, is really a training ground, right? So we're learning a lot within the scope of a relationship. Because let's just be honest, there's not one person that goes into a relationship a complete and finished product. So you're learning within the scope of relationship. One thing that we cannot do is think that we are the finished problem in the relationship. So we have to also make sure that we're learning as well. So when you ask that question, like how many times, well, I think that's a good question to consider. But I think the answer to that is, based upon your metric of success. Like, how many times are you willing to pursue your goals when it comes down to being successful in life? If you fail, do you quit or do you keep trying? Right? Do you view failure as failure and you just give up at that particular point in time? Or do you keep trying and trying a different way to do something? So I think what we have to understand is that the relationship itself is the most important person in the relationship, not me or her. Once we have that understanding, then we're working towards the strength of the relationship, not me trying to manipulate her to do what I want or vice versa. Right. That's why I talked about the two pieces that I believe is one of the biggest challenges, manipulation being one, and number two, the idea that communication actually happened. You don't really know that communication actually happened at the degree that you want it to happen until there's a specific outcome, right? Like you gave an example, like I don't like it that way. Well, you don't know if she received that until she do it again and she didn't do it the way that reflect that you don't like it. So that's how you know communication. That is, and in my and with that being said, that is the highest form of active listening, change behavior. That's the piece we have to understand. There's several things that reflect active listening, questioning, responding, parroting, all those things, right? But that's just showing that I'm present in the moment, whereas we're exchanging information back and forth. But a change behavior is the only thing that shows that active listening actually took place.
Let me ask you, Coach, and ask all of you actually, because you guys all use this word manipulation in a relationship. What do you guys mean by manipulation? Because if any woman tries to manipulate me, she's going to manipulate me out the door. I just need to know define that when you guys say in a scenario. Give me something tangible. Like, what's a manipulation that you think that she would try to pull on you in a relationship? Anybody can go.
I'll swing. Hey, okay. What do you think manipulation is, Antoine?
When she's trying to manipulate you to think a certain way and do a certain thing in order to get the outcome she wants. Because if a girl tries to do that and I find out she's doing that, we're done.
Okay.
You have to do that.
Do you have an experience that I can compare?
I don't know. I want you guys to tell me I know mine. I want to hear what your versions are.
Well, I would say like there's a lot of people that get manipulated with their kids.
Well, I'm talking. I want a relationship like you and the girl. What's a manipulative relationship between you and the girl, not kids? In the relationship, what would that look like?
I think you have small levels of manipulation, which is not it's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not always a bad thing,
right?
Give me something. I need something. Give me something.
She put on a certain type of a dress or something that you like to get something out of you that you want. Come on, something simple and not necessarily unhealthy or anything, but it's just a simple form of healthy manipulation potential.
Or something easy, like my wife will come home and she'll be like, she worked, I did, and she'll be like, dang, don't you want some whatever? I'm just gonna say Popeyes or something, some type of restaurant, something she wants, not me. I'm cool with what's in the house, but she'll say, man, don't you want some of this? Yada yada yada. That is manipulation for me to go get it for her, which I have no problem with that. I know what she's doing, and it's not a bad thing. It's something to get me to say, hey, I want you to go get this for me. That's it. But her manner of doing it wasn't to ask me to do it, but it's to say, it's to play on me wanting it. No, I don't want it, but you do, so I'll go get it.
Versus just being direct and saying, hey, babe, you feel like going out and go get me some Popeyes.
Right.
But you see, I'm just saying, if I communicate with my wife correctly or my girlfriend or my significant other correctly, she would know I don't eat that stuff during the week anyways. And I'd say, listen, if you want me to go get you some, she knows how I eat. She knows my diet pattern. So she would know, babe, if you want me to go get you some, fine. But I'm not going to eat that during the week, right?
It's not about
It's not about you, Antoine.
It's not about me. So why would she have to say that? That's
just how people communicate.
I'd be like, I don't need it. Like, okay, I'll go get you some. That's the end of that.
But you got manipulated to get it. But yeah.
Why? That's not a manipulation.
It is.
Well, Antoine, you did
because she's getting what she wants. That's all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Antoine, you did say you had your definition. I'd be open to hearing what it is, or even the audience.
That's exactly why I asked that first, because he still came to.
I want to hear what everybody has to say first, and then I'll see.
Yeah, like what? That's why I was asking for something tangible, like in your example, because I don't have an unhealthy definition of manipulation that I can relate to, because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not in those type of situations where I have anything to contribute on that, but I'm more along the lines like with Roland or Unc or the coach. You know what I'm saying? So usually just mild micro manipulation, nothing negative.
Right. And just being transparent. So what you heard are more classified as passive aggression, right? So passive aggression, like Unc said, instead of asking a direct question, that's more of a passive aggressive way of doing a thing. Like putting out a suggestion, knowing that I'm not going to go do it. I want you to go do it. Like, say, for example, that if I was still married and say my wife bought something from Amazon that requires it being put together, right? And she is not that person that's going to put it together. And she'll be like, hey, we got this right here in the mail today. We got this right here in the mail today. Well, what is it? Oh, it's this shelf that I thought would look great in such and such room. But we got to put it together. Well, what do you mean we aren't going to put it together? I'm gonna put it together because if your shoes aren't sitting straight, you'll put them on the wrong feet. So I mean, it's just those things, right? So passive aggression can be deemed as a form of manipulation, but there's also more extreme versions of manipulation as well, when a decision is made and then you have to be the one to fix it, but the decision was made outside of your scope of understanding, outside of your scope of awareness, and you knew absolutely nothing about it. And then after it happens, oh, I need to talk to you about something, right? So it's something that fed that person, something that person wanted, something that person was dying to have, but you knew nothing about it. And now after getting it, let's just say, I don't know, they went and overdraft something of that nature, right? So now you got to repair it. You got to fix it. They still got what they want, but it ended up costing you in the long run. So that's another form of manipulation. So you got extremes from passive aggression to all the way to what we tend to call like malicious behavior, right? Which can be deemed as manipulation as well. So just understanding, and I like what Liz is saying, if we don't view the relationship as a team, then we're missing the point. That's why I always say the most important person in the relationship is the relationship itself, not either person. And if everybody focus on the relationship, there is no manipulation, there is no passive aggression. There's only us growing in the direction of the healthy version of the relationship.
What about you, Garfield?
Everything I'm saying is pretty much going to be similar to whatever they say. I'm going to give you similar examples of the same types of behaviors. So it'll kind of be redundancy at this point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Those things are petty, though. I don't look at that as manipulation. I just look at that as whatever.
So what's your example then?
My example is like I'll even give you one that happened in my life. Like, I didn't want to go to this black tie event. I said, that person's gonna be there. She goes, no, I don't think they're gonna be there. She knew she's gonna be there. But no, trust me. I talked to so and so. I was like, we don't get along. I don't want to go see her. I don't want to. She goes, no. I'll go. You know what? Fine. But she already knew. See. So and then I said, okay, you know what? If you're so sure, you and your friend, you know what? Because you want to go, let's do it. And then we go there. And then sure enough, I look over and I go, did you know? She goes, if I told you, you wouldn't have come. I go, well, at least you're not coming back with me. That was the end of that. Like, no, we ain't doing that. If you could start with that already, because that's to me, that's manipulation. That's how I look at it. That other stuff that you guys mentioned is petty. I'm like, burger, fries, really don't care about that stuff, right? Because I'll go and get it. But something like my manipulation version of it is like that. That's like you knew what was going to happen, but you needed to get me there so you can hopefully change my mind or something. You see? And that was wrong because you don't do that, right? Because if now you're looking to start something because you already knew that I asked you directly, so-and-so might be there. I came because of you. You said no for sure. Now I look over at you and you got that look on your face like, damn. Right? Yeah. So right there, that's a manipulation that I would not tolerate at all. It's, that's how I see it.
I would look at that as just a outright lie.
Yeah,
because
but she manipulated me to get there. You know what I mean?
Well, she told you a lie to get you there. Said somebody weren't going to be there. Now, manipulation would be controlling you to saying, "Hey, if you do this, I'll do this for you. If you go, I'll do that."
Quid pro quo.
Right. That's a manipulation.
Okay. I mean that's semantics to how I look at it, but okay.
Very well.
Machista, machismo.
So let's keep it moving. So how can individuals overcome these challenges and improve their communication skills?
Shut up and listen more.
That's it, right?
Your ears
Hey,
more
I
than
got
your mouth.
mine out before the show, so I'm good.
Just like, whoa.
Strong.
What
Antoine,
you
you
got,
got
Antoine?
What?
I think it's
Oh,
simple.
I didn't even read the
Simple.
question. Sorry. How can individuals overcome these challenges to improve their communication? I just say listen, and if the person wants it that way, just give it to them that way. Like what? Why are you complicating things? If that's how they want you to communicate, why are you making it more complicated than what it needs to be? He
Good.
does
Hey,
it.
perfect. Hey,
He
let's
does-
pause
he-
right there. Let's
Hmm?
pause right there. So you got individual 1 who wants it their way. You have individual 2 that wants it their way.
So why can't you just do what each other wants and leave it at that? Like why is that so complicated? I don't get that.
But that's what I'm saying. You
You may
communicate.
not want to.
This person communicates this way. This person communicates that way. One person believes in being direct. One person believes in beating around the bush. So
Right.
now you have 2 people in a relationship with 2 different thoughts and ways on communicating. So how do you solve that problem?
Easy.
Based off of your thoughts.
Easy. So easy. She likes me to tell her like this. You know what? I'm going to tell her like this. That's it. I have no problem with that. Oh, he likes it like this. You know what? That's the guy I'm with. I got to just straight up tell him.
But the communication is a two-way street. It's not just going to be one direct thing, and then that's the end of the conversation. The conversation is going to go back and forth. So as those 2 people are communicating and they're having elevated dialogue, they're going to be communicating in their own individual ways. So how do you bridge that gap if you're trying to communicate like this? We've seen it on the show today.
And on top of that,
We've seen it on the show today.
Why it's so hard to understand, man.
No, what I'm saying is, yes, this is not a not loving, but this is not a romantic relationship. But even on this show, we have different people who communicate different ways. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we've been doing this show for over a year. So we've managed to have a successful show for over a year, and we all communicate in different ways. So can you still exist in a relationship even though you communicate in different ways?
Would you guys all say after this year you understand how I like things and how I like to communicate things? Would it be fair to say that? Because I have a clear understanding if I were to break down it for you how you like things, right? So I'm gonna go, okay, yeah, that's how yeah, you're right. Right? There's certain pet peeves. I go, oh, that's cool. Okay, you know what? That's the way he does it. Oh, okay. Like some people have an eloquent way of talking. That's cool. I can deal with that. And some people don't. Right? Some people can't form a sentence, and you're like, okay, that's the best English I'm going to get out of that person. I'm not going to try to make that person say it any other way than the way they're accustomed to saying it. So for me, if I know that that person communicates that way, why am I going to be an idiot and not respond accordingly to how that person communicates? Like, I just don't know what's so hard at that.
Because just like talking with us talking, when we talk, we understand until Antoine gets all that stuff in him out, he ain't listening to a word nobody's saying. He's just going to keep talking and talking over people.
Exactly, because I like people, but answer the question first. I like when people just answer the question.
See, you want what you want, but you don't want to give.
I'm not going to ask you a question you can't answer.
No, if the question is answered, you're going to ask another question. And
keep on going.
You're going to keep over talking.
That's not true. No, because I ask you a question. Just
go look at the replay.
If I answer the question, just answer it. Don't try to build something out. Just answer it. If it's blue, just tell me it's blue. It's like somebody saying, is the sky blue? Well, you know what? If I was to say the sky's blue, depending on what time of the day, because if you go to nighttime, it becomes navy. If it's midday, it becomes phthalo blue. But if you go in the morning, it becomes Jesus Christmas. Yes, it's blue. Like,
see, but you want that, but but see, if somebody want to have a dialogue with Antoine, I got to be yes, no. If you want
Yes.
If you want closed-ended answers, you ask closed-ended questions. Don't ask an open-ended question and expect for me to blue and not give what I have to say. You don't respect the other person, so you just want to keep going.
No, I want you to answer the question before you start putting all that BS into it. Just answer the damn question, man. It's like if I tell every girl, you see when that light is red in my studio, that means don't knock on the door, don't text me, don't call, don't do nothing. Why would she go and text me? Like, I mean, like, why? Right? It would be pretty clear that, you know what, he's in his zone, he's creating, whoo, he's got it going on. So I know when it turns yellow, he's probably sipping his coffees, sitting back, playing his DCS and learning on something else. So now I know it's a good time. So why would you, like, I just don't understand that. Like, if she says not to sneak up behind her, why are you sneaking up behind her? Like, I really don't understand that part. Sorry.
Here's my response to the question. How can individuals overcome these challenges and improve their communication skills? First, I think that first of all, they need to practice communicating just in general. They need to talk. All right. After that, they need to reflect on the conversation. They need to talk about it just in general, like go back, have reflections, whatever like that. And then based off of that, then adjust, you know what I mean? Learn more about each other, blah, 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 and then continue to communicate. I think that communication is ongoing, it's evolving. And I think, you know, to Antoine's point, you do need to be direct and you need to be upfront and you don't need to let things linger before you start bringing them up. You know what I mean? Like it's been said on here many times, bad news does not get better with time. So waiting to tell me something or waiting to tell her something it's not good. Cause like Roland said, you know, if I tell you a joke and you laugh and he, I'm thinking it's okay. So I'm gonna continue, you know, and it's not fair for you to come back at me and 2 months later and tell me that hey, that joke hurt my feelings 2 months ago. Like
there
you
you
could
go.
have dealt with it 2 months ago, you know.
There you
So,
go.
I
Exactly.
think,
Jesus Christ. Exactly. My good. Like I've even dumped girls because of that. You know, when they bring up the old freaking argument that you healed, and you're like, didn't we just like squash that? We had some good sex over that healing moment. Like, what happened? We had some good sex over that one. That was some forgiveness sex right there. Now we arguing again, and you bring up the same thing. No, that's not gonna happen.
maybe to make up, Antoine.
I ain't making up for the same argument twice. I already told you one time. I did my best that day. What? I did my best that day. I'm not doing it again.
He threw his whole back out to make up. Throw at you.
I'm not fucking doing that again. Fuck that. No, I'm not doing that again.
I mean, how many arguments can you have with the same dog?
I'm just saying what?
I'm not doing that again. No.
You heard what he said.
Oh man!
Look, man. Hold on. I just want to add my little piece because I want to inject another thought. I think as we go back and look at the prior question, I think one of the things that we need to understand is that no one. I don't care, and I've been on this earth for about 49. Plus years, plus only being 3 weeks added to that 49, by the way. Roland, just so you know, has been here longer than me. Just throwing that out there. But out of my 49 years, I've never found a perfect communicator. So I think one of the things that people need to find when they get in a situationship, relationship, whatever they want to call it at this particular point in time, is that there is no such thing as a perfect communicator in the relationship. So first thing that every party needs to do is own the fact that they can improve at communication. Then another thing I want to inject is that they need to learn the art of what is called empathetic listening. I know we talked about active listening all the time, but empathetic listening is more refined. Empathetic listening is more intimate than active listening. And I gave an example earlier. I can actively listen to you and you believe I'm hearing everything that you're saying because I'm responding to you. I'm nodding my head. I'm giving you all of the verbal and nonverbal cues that helps you to believe that I'm digesting what you're saying and I'm not retaining one thing. So empathetically listening to your partner is the key to connect. And then at that particular point in time, if I'm listening, after empathetically listening, I need to learn how to paraphrase what you just said to me so that you understand that I got what you said, I digested it, and then we can jointly create a plan of action to move forward. Again, there is no such thing as a perfect communicator in any relationship. I don't care how good one party is over the other. I also believe with the idea of being authentic in communication. If I have a problem with something, I should be able to tell you that I have a problem with something the way that I understand it, accept it at that level, and then after accepting it, telling me, say, you know what, you could have like giving it to me a little less harsh. You know what I'm saying? And then at that particular point in time, I'm open to hearing that feedback because you took the time to hear what I said prior to. So now, not only did you hear what I disliked, but I also heard what you said in response. So now we're giving each other both some things to work on. I think that's I think that's necessary. So the challenges is number one, understanding that neither one of us are perfect communicators. Number two, we all need to improve. And then I think it was Roland that said practice. Who said, I don't want to give away credit. I think Roland said practice communicating. I agree. But prior to practicing, we need to learn how to communicate. And I think a lot of times we don't know how to communicate. We just think we do because we've been someplace and somebody says, hey, you're a great communicator. Hey, you're good at doing this. Hey, you get results. Sure. And we take that and say, yep, I communicate very well. And that's one of the things I shared with my ex. I was like, look, I said, man, I'm in the Army, I can get 30 people to do exactly what I tell them to do. I can coordinate airspace. I'm hitting targets over here. I'm flying in aircrafts over here. I'm deconflicting. I'm doing, and people are responding. And I come home, I can't even get these kids to clean their room. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how in the world is this happening? So, again, at that point, I'll just be completely transparent. I was not a good communicator, but I was a good communicator in the Army because nobody could challenge what I said. Right. But in the home, it wasn't so much about challenging. It was saying it in such a way that they understood exactly what I wanted, what actually needed to happen because we were on the same sheet of music. And I think that's the other part to it as well. So that's just my 2 cents.
I appreciate the 2 cents. I'll raise you 4 cents.
Man,
I mean,
pass the collection plate.
yeah.
Pass the collection plate.
Election play.
Hey, clip that free chicken from Coach right there. That's a wrap.
Actually, I want to skip down to this question. I think this is applicable at this time. So how can individuals effectively communicate their needs and boundaries to their partner? Because it seems like sometimes when we talk, there's a bridge that needs to be crossed or a wall that needs to be knocked down sometimes in order to get the communication across, especially when it comes to setting boundaries. So whoever wants to go at this first.
I got this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got this one. Okay. Let's just say I'm very passionate about.
Hold on, Antoine. Let me mute my mic first.
Okay. I'm very passionate about my art, right? I'm very passionate about my creative side, right? There's never going to be compromise between you, me, and it. If I have to choose, believe me, it's not a decision, right? Very clear on that. The hand stops drawing when it stops drawing. The creativeness stops creating when it stops creating. I'm very clear about that red light. Very clear about the whole anything going on when I'm working and when I'm doing what I need to do. I will make sure there's no compromise. So I'm going to make sure that's a clear, conscious decision. Like that's how it is. We're never going to have a conversation about that, right? So I understand that. Now, if she's passionate about something and she tells me, baby, I am passionate about this. This is the way I like to do it. This is how I like to do it. This is the time I finish. I am going to respect that 100% because I know how it is for what I do, right? Those are clear-cut understandings, and that's communication at its highest level. So she knows that. Now, if I say to you, I'm not this kind of guy that's going to, I'm look at my phone and, she said she loves me. Butterfly. I ain't doing that shit, right? I don't have time for that. I know you love me, and we can have that conversation when I get home, or when I'm out of my studio, cool. I think if a man is going to come, you need to have these boundaries set way before you move in together, way before you do anything outside of that solid commitment. You need to have, I believe you need to have that. So if you're going to, you have to be Straightforward. I don't think you need to sugarcoat anything about it. And I think once you put that on the table, it's either a yes or no, I can deal with it, or I can't. And that's it. And if she can't deal with it, then you know where you stand. Right? You know where you stand. You're going to sign a prenup with me. You're not getting half of what I do. If you can't do that, there's no compromise. It just won't go any further than that. That's it. It's. I don't see why men and women cannot be direct like that, because you're not going to change my mind. You will never come before my art, ever. But in my personal life, that's where you're placed, not my professional life. And I think if you set these boundaries honestly and openly and give her the decision that she needs to make on it, put it in her lap if she can deal with it, cool. That's how I believe it should be effective. And all the other soft stuff that happens at night when you're fucking, whatever. Deal with that when it comes. That's how I see it.
Anybody else?
He said, how can individuals effectively communicate their needs and boundaries to their partner? Have a solutions-based discussion. How about that? Or sitting in a space where you actually just quiet, both of you. Figure it out. Just get it to a point where you can hear each other. So I think that doing whatever you got to do to set the conditions for the empathetic listening that Coach talked about before, you got to have that first. That's why, like, one of the questions, I use peace as the answer. You can't have anything without peace, and bring, and don't be defensive. Well, all of us defensive to a degree, but we got to figure out how we display it. I think I struggle with this simply because I have such a nonchalant, non-emotional demeanor. I don't perform. I don't express that type of way. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
you damn right.
So I don't express that type of way. So I know even if I'm having a regular conversation, whether it be through business or whatever, I know some people can draw whatever conclusion they want to, based off of everything I didn't say. Because again, people are coming in and have holes in whatever story field to prove, whatever they think is going to happen. So I think everybody brings their own understanding to the conversation. So I think it's very important to be patient, pick the right environment, and just be open to it all, and be honest about saying, hey, I might need a day or two to sit on what we're discussing. It may take me more than a couple of days, a couple of segments of understanding to be able to gratify what you're looking for. What's up, Chris?
Welcome
Greetings,
to the show.
greetings. My apologies for my tardiness. My apologies. How y'all fellas?
Man, we good, man.
Good, man. Good to see you. My little brother jumps on the scene and make a splash.
Great to see you.
All day. Good to see you, man.
Hey,
go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in after Vic, if you don't mind. I tend to practice something I picked up from reading Ray Dalio's book, Principles, and it's called Radical Transparency and Radical Open-Mindedness. I just believe that if we can learn to be honest, which I think that a lot of times people struggle with, if we can just learn to be honest with one another, and express exactly how you really feel, tell them exactly what's going on, articulate your boundaries early, right? This should be a part of the agreement before we decide to get married. Articulate your boundaries early and often. That way it's a clear understanding of what boundaries look like. And with that being said, as much as I desire to be honest, I should be 2 times desirable in the realm of being open-minded. So whatever is shared with me, I should be open-minded and accept that as well. And I think that's important. Vic, you brought peace to the conversation, brother. That's that right there. That right there, that's non-compromisable when it comes to me.
Hey, that's the basketball goal in the street, baby.
Yes, sir. Because you got to realize I had a top secret clearance at the time. I ain't got time for the police coming to my house, man.
Bro, yeah. I don't need that extra stuff.
Absolutely. So, peace is one of those things. So that's one of my boundaries. right? I will let you know. And again, I want it to be one of yours as well because we should have a peaceful home. I think peace should be one of the pillars of the relationship itself. So being transparent and being open-minded back and forth, regardless of what is shared, what needs to be talked about, we talk about it. If one of us is triggered because of the other person's open-mindedness, don't 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 re don't react. I'll say it that way. Take a second, think about why you're triggered. Don't just automatically put it on the other person. Take a second, figure out why you're triggered. If we need to take a time out, then we can take a 10-minute. I've talked about this a couple of different times. Take a 10-minute break, go walk around the house, go walk to the mailbox, go to the refrigerator, get some water, and then come back to the conversation. Don't just abandon it. Give yourself time to go down. Remember, when emotions go up, cognition goes down, right? So we don't allow the trigger to take control. We analyze it and figure out why. If it's because the other person attacked you, now that's when you're open with them and say, "Hey, I felt attacked when you did all that great stuff. Are you building something over there, bro?" No, I'm joking. So, so that being said, I just think that's what it is. Being transparent, being open-minded, take a time out when it's necessary, right? Analyze why you're triggered, and then just again continue in the midst of the conversation for the sake of growth and development of the relationship.
You guys said bring peace. Vic, you said bring peace. If you're already at peace, why wouldn't she, like, what would she bring other than that? If you're already at peace.
It wasn't about bringing peace.
Oh,
It was about the sanctity of peace. Like, you got to have a peaceful environment.
Oh, okay.
And have a decent conversation. Like, this isn't about who brings peace and who doesn't. This is about operating from a healthy place, and peace is required for a healthy place.
Oh, okay. That's your all right.
But to your comment, Antoine, and like you said, if I'm already at peace, one of your jobs is to don't mess up the peace. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be at peace with myself regardless. So not only in my personal relationship, I know we talking about personal relationship with our lady, but with everybody. Do not come into my life and try to destroy the peace that I've have, or you would only get about this much of my time. Because I refuse to have my peace destroyed by anybody at any point in my life. I'm not saying that, and I have overall peace. I'm not saying that there won't be time where there won't be thunderstorms in my life. However, like overall, my life is pretty peaceful. So, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Am I good? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. To answer your question, I think before I dive into this, are we speaking based on relationships, or are we speaking as a whole?
Relationships.
Okay. Relationships between man and woman, or relationships between Okay.
Let's go that way.
Yeah. See, there you go.
So
I've been here 5 minutes and you already see. I think the main way to effectively communicate your needs and your boundaries is to just state what they are, but state them without it feeling like it's an attack on the other party. I think that's where everybody falls short. But on the flip side of that, to speak runs the risk of being offensive. So I think I have to agree with Antoine. You have to be blunt, you have to be honest, and you have to be straight up. You have to be straight up. And you have to be willing to take the L if the other party is not willing to adhere to your boundaries and to your needs. I think that's one of the main problems in communication that we have as a whole. A lot of men out here are afraid of the loss that they're going to take if they communicate what they want and how they feel. So they either sugarcoat it or they don't say anything because they believe that the partner that they have is going to be all that they get. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not afraid to take a L. If what I need and my boundaries are too much for you, I would rather you say it than put up a front and then bring it up later like it's an issue, like I didn't tell you what it was in the very beginning. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's where the communication would help. Like we just have to quit being afraid of losing who we're with or who we want to be with because they can't give us what we need or they don't fit in the boundary.
Yeah, man,
Always
I
be
like
honest. You have to I always say this, be honest and be righteous. That's it.
Okay, I had the right mind there.
Go ahead.
I think you should have a healthy respect for the relationship as well as the other person and what they have to say, and not only how they say it, but or what they say, but how they say it, because you got to have a relationship for other people's communication, because some people may not articulate it the way you do, and you have to be able to listen to your partner, because then you'll know their heart along with their words, because sometimes they don't marry. And then when you know your partner, you'll know if she's just going along to get along. So when you have that healthy relationship to learn them, then you will alleviate most problems and you can have your peace. Because I'm not always at peace with myself. Sometimes, especially when I had a job, I'm pushing soldiers all day. I come home, I'm not in the best mood. So I know I can be a little snappy. But yeah, learn your partner. Sometimes you need to give them that space and everything.
I like that. That's cool.
What you got on this, Antoine? Or did
You
you
know,
already? Actually, you started it, but I'll give you opportunity to kind of close up with anything based off of what you've heard everybody else say.
Oh, am I done? Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to wait till everybody was done.
No, we did.
Oh,
terrible listener.
You
terrible listener.
started it.
This whole
You
show
went first, and then a lot of people went. Yeah,
Antoine, man.
Listen to this, right?
Sheesh.
So I was raised with both parents in the household. My father was not much of a talker because he used to fix jet engines, right? So he knew every night, Friday night was curry night, right? So he communicated. I said, Pop, you never really talk about things. How do you know what mom wants for Christmas? Because I always freaked me out that he got her what she wanted. He goes, son, I just listened and I saw what she circled in a book. And I'm like, oh man, that's effective. I go, how did you know what we wanted? He goes, you guys used to fight over it. I used to hear it, write it down, and said, okay. So I said, how did you know what to get before Christmas came along? He goes, because I knew that if she wrote it down and we really needed it and couldn't wait till Christmas, I'd get it early. I said, so how did mom know that you weren't, like, you just didn't like to be challenged and all that? She knew when I went into the garage, I was either pissed and I didn't want to be bothered by her. So I go, how did you know when she wasn't feeling well? He goes, because I'd listen to her breathing at night and I check her tone with me. And I'm like, so you just listen. He goes, son, I'm like an introvert. She knows that I'm not one to try to figure out her mind or try to read her mind. She knows that will never happen. She knows if she's crying and something's wrong and she doesn't tell me right then and there, she will never get another chance. So she'll just come out and say it, right? If I say something bad, she'll just come out. And I said, man, that's so effective because, 70 years later, they're like, still doing it. And he never strayed, never did any of that shit, right? And I'm like, man. So I asked my brother who's married and I said, bro, are you following things along the same line as Pop did? He goes, you know what, bro? I'm going to tell you yes, but in modern times, I had to kind of like change it a bit, right? Because we're all different. I go, so what would you say is the best way you communicate with your wife? He goes, I don't communicate with her. She knows my habits. She knows what I do. She knows what I like and what I don't like. And I made that clear to her. And I said, so how did you know what she liked and didn't like? Because she was always verbal and told me. So I never made that mistake of doing it. And if I did do it, I'd be the first to say, I'm sorry, or I made a mistake and I forgot. So I go, so I was able to admit when I'm wrong. I go, you know what? I like that. He goes, but that's not how dad did it, but I get it. He changed. And so for me now, hearing all this is like foreign language to me, because the woman I decide to settle down with, she's going to have everything she wants to have. I'm in the position to do that, but I want her to have her career and her life, because I don't want her to give that up and come together. Because the only reason, like I said, I would want a relationship right now is because I would want kids. Other than that, there would be no reason for me to have a woman. I got my bullpen and I'm very content with it, right? But I want kids, so I say, okay, let me find a way to make that work. But I would not ask her to give up anything that I'm not willing to give up, right? But we come together for the sake of building a family. That's the only reason. So for me as a man, I would communicate that with her, right? I mean, she could read. She knows what sign is on the door. I'm assuming I don't have to tell her. So it's going to be very straightforward. Now, she has to challenge what I'm saying. She knows what I compromise on and what I don't. She knows that if I don't like the dress, I'm going to tell her. She knows I'm not going to make it sound pretty. I'm just going to tell her. But I'm not going to say it maliciously, angry, undertone, all this other bullshit that women like to spew out. I'm going to say it honestly and openly. But she's going to get it so clear that she doesn't have to ask me again. Right? Because that's the relationship I want in my life. Effective communication, straightforward, straight direct. You know what my boundaries are. You know what to respect. You know what I like and what I don't like. And I expect to know that from her. And I think if you have a relationship like that, where you can be honest about if the sex is good, it's not good, she ain't doing it for you no more, you're able to grow in an honest way and make the necessary changes as you advance. And if you cannot have that kind of communication, that you're tippy-toeing around her, why are you with her? If I know I can't get along with this woman and she has A, B's, and C's, that, I'm going to put her in a certain category, get what I want, and keep it pushing. So I believe in that. And I believe in, like my father, strong communication skills, man. But don't ask me to read your mind. I will never read your mind. Never. And if you don't understand as a woman, to tell me right then and there, that's the communication I want to have. But don't come back to me later with it. I don't want to hear it later.
I'm gonna say this before we go into the final thoughts, and this is what I was just thinking about. Huh?
That wasn't the final thought.
Hey, it is what it is, Antoine. But never mind. So I wrote something down real quick, and I wrote effective communication looks different to different people. Effective communication does not necessarily mean direct. Effective communication means just that, effective. So if what works for me and my wife is texting each other, that works. If works for Antoine and his wife is to be direct, then that works. If Chris and his girlfriend, they throw pots and pans at each other and it works, that works. Whatever is effective for you is really what's effective, and at least that's what I think. Because the way that coaches communicates with his lady may not be the same way that me and my wife communicate, but that doesn't mean that the way that we communicate doesn't work, and it doesn't mean that it's not effective. So that's what I want to close out with. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. We're about to wrap up here in a few minutes. We're going to close out with our final thoughts. And we are going to start with none other than Mr. Across the Table himself.
Oh boy.
Chris.
I don't think I can hear him.
You muted. You muted. Hey, we're going to come back to you in a minute.
All right. For my final thoughts, I like to start off with references. Like I said, no one is a perfect communicator. And I think that's important to understand. So first and foremost, every person needs to go on might help I turn this right side up, right? Everybody needs to go on a journey to become a better communicator. this is a very good book for anybody who wants to become a better communicator, first and foremost. If you have kids, I think it's also important, right? Find a resource and read and digest it and understand it, and don't read it from the perspective of blaming your partner. Read it from the perspective of Wayne Dyer. Reading from the perspective of looking at yourself and becoming a better communication cater. And Liz, me too. So with that being said, one of the things I believe, again, I am going to stress the point of empathetic listening, because empathetic listening allows you to put yourself in the shoes of the individual that is actually talking to you. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to go into a communication, or go into communicating with our partner, and we already have our preconceived notions and thoughts in our head, and therefore what we're hearing what they're saying through the lens of our thoughts. We got to learn to shut this up for a second and open these up while this person is actually talking. So listen empathetically to your partner, ask questions for understanding, not interrogation, and then just get to the point to where you guys realize that I'm not the most important person in the relationship. The relationship is the most important person. Therefore, everything that we're doing, we're working toward the betterment of the relationship. If we can do that, we can get to the point to where we are progressively growing within the scope of relationship, and no one is using another person for their own edification. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Can't say it enough, but respect, respect, respect. I think when you respect one another, you respect yourself, and you learn to listen more than you talk, then you can have healthy dialogue one with another and learn your bad parts. You are not the cat's meow, so you have some work to do on yourself when it comes to communicating also. Learn your bad parts, because you already know your good parts, because you're going to highlight those, but learn all of your partner's parts so that you know when they do want to talk, when they do want to be bothered, and when they don't, because that will alleviate you from feeling disrespected. Because when you don't have respect in a relationship, you can't have positive communication. So that's all I have about this.
Okay, first things first. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. How can individuals effectively communicate with their partners in relationships? Like I said in the beginning, it's all about being honest. It's all about being righteous. You have to understand that you being honest with your partner, and you communicating with your partner and letting them know the do's and the quote unquote do's and don'ts, for lack of a better term, is what's best for the relationship. You don't have to be an ass about it. You don't have to be mean. There is a such thing as being direct and not being quote unquote mean about it. But being honest and being righteous is where it should start. Shouldn't be any type of manipulation in it at all. Just be honest, and don't be afraid to take the L. Because if the person that you are communicating with can't fit within those boundaries, then they don't need to be in your life, and you're just wasting each other's time. Just be honest and be righteous, and understand that you being righteous is what's good for the whole relationship. It's not just about you. It's about you and your partner trying to build something bigger than the both of you. Honesty has to be the root in that. Honesty and righteousness has to be the root in that. And I'm going to just leave it at that.
All right. So I got a lot of the words that I spoke on the last episode that are still like applicable. One of the phrases off top is avoid being defensive, maintain the volume, be objective, learn the language that the other person understands, listen to comprehend, and to change your behavior for the health of the relationship. Avoid the unhealthy competition. Support each other's ideas with the time you've invested in each other. That way you get a return on investment. Ego management is paramount because emotions are valid on both sides, whether the other person accepts it or not. The behavior is going to say how you understand or how you feel. And participation in empathetic listening, taking that from Coach, is the language of comprehension of the other person. That's the most intimate way to understand, and you're gonna have to get your hands dirty in some kind of way. So that's my take on it. That's the terminology that is easy to reference for me, and I think you got to find some different shortcut words to get to your personal code of understanding, so you can be an effective communicator.
So I hear a lot about honesty and communication. I don't know what anybody's saying. Communication is not a complicated thing. It's about being honest. And you know what? Honesty hurts. But you know what? You have to be willing to hear it and take it. And if you cannot abide by that, then you're with the wrong person. Because first of all, when you're going into any relationship, set the boundaries. And in order to set boundaries, you got to be honest. And I'm not talking about compromise. I'm not talking about that person trying to change you, manipulate you, all that bullshit. I'm talking about just straight, this is how it's going to be, right? You listen to what their needs are, and that person listens to what your needs are. You tell them what you're willing to compromise on, they tell you what they're willing to compromise on. But the foundation of the relationship is communication, so there's no misunderstanding. You know, life isn't complicated. It's just we as humans who tend to make it so. And I don't want to make anything complicated. I'm a well-rounded man. I am happy. My life is at peace. If you're coming into it, or any woman's coming into it, believe me, she can't bring chaos, because the same way she walked in, I'm willing to let it go, because I'm not going to compromise my happiness that I spent my life building for that, or her, or anything like that. And I wouldn't want to bring chaos into her life. So I would have that discussion, right? I don't need her to cook and clean. I've been doing that my whole life myself. I could do that. I love cooking, right? And I say to any man, if they're going into a solid relationship, ask yourself, why are you going into this relationship? And if that's the person for you, why are you in the relationship? Why do you even want to be married? These are questions you need to ask yourself before you dive in, right? Because certain people fit into certain categories, right? I have enough friends. I don't need more. I got a lot of acquaintances. Really don't need more. So everybody has to serve a purpose for everybody, right? So if I'm bringing someone into my life, this is why you're here. And this is why I want you. And this is why, and I want to know why you want me. And I think that's how communication starts. You got to be willing to hurt the person, because honesty hurts. So to try to sugarcoat this honesty and blah, 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 and all, no, this is how it is. Your breath stink. What do you want me to tell you? Get over it. Brush your teeth. I don't know. But that's the best way to tell somebody so they get the message. And I believe if you're a person like that, you should let that other person know you're like that. So you sit down and, again, set the boundaries. And once you do that, there should be no misunderstanding. People will make mistakes, yes. Right? People make shallow mistakes in your life. Honest mistakes, right? Because they mess up. And I mess up. I may say, oh, damn it. I slipped my mind. But the solid foundation that you built communication-wise with that person, you know when you're respecting somebody. You know exactly when you're disrespecting somebody. You know. Now, you may want to challenge it a bit just to see if they love you, then that could cost you, but you know. And I believe if you try to challenge somebody in that area, you fuck with the bull, you're going to get the horns. So pick your battles wisely. But don't make no misunderstanding. Don't try to change somebody's mind just to get into the relationship, because it's not going to work. And it's not going to be a healthy relationship. And all this manipulation bullshit about Coke and Diet Coke and going to get a burger and all that ain't manipulation. That's petty stuff, because that person's going to know you don't eat that stuff during the week anyways. They're going to know you as a man. You know, he doesn't tell me he loves me. He shows me every night in the damn bedroom. I don't need to hear it. And you're going to know. Now, if she needs to hear it, okay, you know what? Pick up the phone and put the effort into that. So you find out, you develop these things as you go. So there's no surprises. But my goodness, communication is not hard. You're just an idiot if you don't want to comprehend it. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everyone who tuned in this evening. I want to close with saying this. Elevated dialogue is about men getting together, having conversations. We're all different. We all have different point of views. We all have different experiences, and that's okay. Whether you rock with Vic, whether you rock Antoine, whether you rock with Roland, Coach, whoever, that's up to you. Our goal is to not feed you one way of doing things. Regardless of where we all in our life, we all had different paths, and we've all had different experiences that led us to being on this panel today. Um, so like I said, we're not here to change your mind, and we're just here to have a conversation, an elevated conversation that pushes past just basic talking points. And we want the viewer to be able to get something out of that. And we feel that if we have different men from different perspectives, then you may be able to connect with one or two or three of us. You may see some similarities, you may see some differences, but either way, you can take the conversations that we have, take them, apply them, not applying them, but at least you have some more information to use for yourself. And you don't have to agree with any one of us if you don't want to. That's fine too. But I also want to thank the chat before we go today. It was on and popping today, especially Liv. If there was an award to give out today for the most elevated chat person, she would probably get it. So Liz, I appreciate you being over there. I saw Gamal. I saw a couple of other people over there. I'm sorry if I don't mention you by name. I apologize. But there was a lot going on in the chat, and I couldn't keep up with everything because I'm back here punching buttons and doing other stuff too. So until next week, we will see you guys this Friday, 2 days, 8 p.m. Elevated, Empowering Perspective podcast over on Coaches Network. The chat will be in the description. All of our stuff will be in the description. We'll see y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat place, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we are out.